talk to you a little bit about divorce and real estate. So it's important for parties to know that when you're getting a separation or a divorce, it's very likely that somebody's going to have to sell real estate. Not always. Sometimes one spouse gets to keep the real estate, but more often than not, we're selling real estate. When I say the word real estate, what do I mean? Well, I mean real property that you can step on. So real estate is generally property that you can step on or where a house or a building is located. When we're talking about tables or chairs, we tend to call that personal property or tangible property. Like a car is tangible property. Now, sometimes we're also talking about intangible property, and that would be more like a retirement account or a bank account. Although they're your property, they're kind of intangible at the moment. When you hear from the real estate expert today on this video, you're going to hear some very interesting things about what it's like for them to sell property when they're dealing with a party that's separating or that's divorcing, because it's a unique area of real estate.
I'm Kathy Greer. I'm a real estate agent here in Wilmington area. I've been practicing real estate and I've been a realtor since, for the last 14 years. I love real estate. I love learning about real estate. I love keeping up with all the rules, the laws, and the education that comes along with being a realtor. The number one thing I find my clients want is they want to know the process. Most people don't understand the process of buying or selling a home. So I really try to communicate with them closely and walk them through the process from beginning to end. There's a lot involved in buying or selling a home. So I find that that's the number one thing is, them understanding the process and me walking them through that. People need to know several things about selling a home during divorce. One is that regardless of the feeling you have for the other party, there is communication that still has to go on. And as the realtor, I have to walk a really fine line between the two parties. And I have to make sure that I have no bias and I treat them both equally, regardless of how they feel about each other. So, both parties need to know that the realtor is working in both of their best interests. Another thing that isn't usually taken into consideration is repairs, and who's going to be paying for them. There's always something in the process of selling a home that comes up. And usually after the home inspection, then the buyer comes back and has a repair request. So it's my job as the realtor to go to both parties and discuss the repair request and how that's going to be handled. And that is usually the biggest hurdle. So what I usually do is try and get in front of that a little bit, and at the onset, before I even list the property, I discuss it with both sides. And if I feel this is going to become an issue, I try and have a home inspection done prior to listing the property so they know what might come up during the process. And we can discuss how that's going to be handled and get the attorneys involved ahead of time if we feel that that's necessary.
Sometimes when you have two parties that have two incomes and are barely maintaining their standard of living, when we take them and divide them into two homes, it makes things a little tough. So before you list your house for sale, it's important to know, number one, who are we going to list it with? Number two, what's going to happen with the proceeds of the sale? Number three, how are we going to stage the home and then later on divide our personal property? And number four, what's going to happen if there's a problem during the listing up through the date of the sale? So those are all things that we answer in either your separation agreement or your court documents. So it's very important to have all of that information specified really prior to the time when you list your home for sale.
One of the things people really need to take into consideration during selling the home is their financial state afterwards. I've had one scenario where one party did not want to pay the mortgage, thinking they were kind of sticking it to the other party, and I had to discuss with them the long-term consequences of this. Divorce is very emotional, and finances, go both ways after a divorce. It's important to know where you are financially. It's important to know what your next steps are. Are you planning on renting? Are you planning on purchasing again? Because either way, if you mess up your finances, renting is just as difficult as buying. Even if someone is having a problem with custody, being in a specific area, I can help them. I can search locations and find them the perfect home anywhere they need to feel comfortable. Maybe close to childcare, maybe close to parks, to the beach. Find out what they like to do.
Most of the time, my clients don't engage in foreclosures or short sales. They are actually able to list their property for sale with a real estate expert and to sell that property. One of the benefits of that is that they can take the net proceeds and divide them equally between themselves, or in a different ratio if equal would not be fair and equitable.
Getting the attorney involved in the couple's house sale is only something I do when necessary. Usually the attorney sets things up on paper and everybody knows ahead of time how this should work out. The only time I need to generally get the attorneys involved is if one party or the other is not adhering to the separation agreement that was set out originally. I've never listed a home for a couple that was divorcing in whether separated or already divorced that I couldn't close and everybody was happy in the end.
When we talk about why is it important to hire a real estate expert to list our home, those are some of the things I want you to pay really close attention to today in this video. Now, I'm not telling you can't for sale by owner, but generally, having a real estate expert, a realtor, or a real estate agent is going to be the way to go. And you're going to find out why here today.
There are so many reasons why I would recommend a realtor as opposed to a for sale by owner. Whether you're buying or selling, a buyer and a seller with a FSBO don't understand, the process of due diligence, don't understand the difference between earnest money and due diligence money, don't understand what's involved in due diligence. Realtors have the home inspectors, the surveyors. They have a network of people that they work with that are reliable, that understand the process. Buying and selling a home is very stressful. If you have somebody that's knowledgeable about the entire process, the stress is definitely not as high on both ends. Being a real estate agent isn't a job to me. It really isn't. It's what I love, and it makes me just really happy to find the perfect home. When people close on the house that they love, that's why I do this. That makes me happy.